It was supposed to be a night of celebration. My birthday. The night where everyone I knew would gather to toast the years I had spent building myself up from nothing. From the quiet boy who dreamed too big to the man who conquered Wall Street. The lights of New York glimmered outside the ballroom windows, and the sound of laughter filled the room. I remember standing there, in a tailored suit, watching her, the woman I loved, move effortlessly through the crowd. She smiled at everyone, her laughter ringing louder than the music. In that moment, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I had success, respect, wealth, and her. But sometimes, the people who stand closest to you are the ones holding the sharpest knife. As the night went on, the host called for a toast. She walked to the front, holding a glass of champagne, her eyes gleaming with confidence. Everyone turned to her, expecting kind words. But the words that came out of her mouth that night would change everything. She began joking about me, about my work, about how I spent more time with numbers than with her. The crowd laughed. I smiled too, pretending it was harmless fun. But then her tone shifted. She looked straight at me and said, maybe if he spent as much time with me as he does with his money, he'd still have someone who actually loves him. The room fell silent. The laughter stopped. In that silence, I could hear my own heartbeat, heavy and hollow. She smirked, satisfied with her performance. Everyone waited to see what I'd do, but I didn't say a word. I simply nodded, placed my glass on the table, and said, thank you all for coming. Then I walked out. Outside, the city air was cold, but it felt cleaner than the air inside that room. I stood on the curb, watching taxis pass, and for the first time in years, I felt free. Betrayal doesn't always come through infidelity or lies. Sometimes it comes through humiliation, in the form of a joke that cuts too deep. That night, I understood something. She hadn't embarrassed me. She had exposed herself, her vanity, her greed, her need to stand on my shoulders just to be seen. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. The city was still quiet, asleep under a blanket of fog. I went to my office, the one I built from scratch, and sat down at my desk. The computer screen lit up my face as I opened every shared account, every credit card, every investment we'd ever made together. And one by one, I closed them all. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. She had mocked my worth, so I took back the part of my life that she thought she owned. I didn't yell, I didn't argue, I didn't explain. I simply erased her from the empire she helped decorate but never built. Later that day, my phone buzzed. Her name flashed on the screen. I watched it ring, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to answer. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. When someone laughs at your loyalty, you stop explaining yourself to them. You just leave. And when you do, you realize silence is louder than any argument. Weeks passed. Rumors spread about why I walked out, where she went, what really happened that night. Some said she tried to apologize. Others said she left the city. Maybe she did. I never checked, because when you truly move on, curiosity dies with the pain. I poured myself into work, but this time it wasn't to prove anything. It was to rebuild from peace, not pride. I started to sleep better, eat better. I even learned how to smile again, not the polite, professional smile for clients, but the real one that comes from finally forgiving yourself for loving the wrong person. People think heartbreak is loud, full of shouting, crying, chaos. But it's not. Real heartbreak is silent. It's the quiet moment when you realize the person you loved never really saw you. It's the calm after you stop waiting for an apology that will never come. It's the strength in walking away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring for yourself. Months turned into seasons. My life became simpler. The noise faded. Then one evening, I attended another event, different ballroom, different faces. A woman I'd met through work asked me, "Are you still seeing her?" I smiled and said, "No." I finally started seeing myself. She laughed softly, but for me, that line carried weight, because for the first time in years, I wasn't defined by anyone else's opinion of me. I was my own person again. I didn't ruin her life. I didn't need to. Life has its own way of balancing the scales. She had chosen vanity over loyalty, and that choice carries its own punishment. The emptiness that follows when applause fades and there's no one left to clap. I had learned something powerful. Revenge isn't about destroying others. It's about rebuilding yourself in silence. It's walking away so gracefully that they never see you fall, only rise. Years later, I look back at that night, not with bitterness but with gratitude, because pain, when faced with dignity, becomes your teacher. Every cruel word she said, every laugh that echoed that night, all of it pushed me closer to becoming who I was meant to be. I built new things, a new company, a new purpose, and one day, maybe even a new kind of love, quieter, kinder, more real. When I think of that birthday now, I don't remember the humiliation or the whispers. I remember the moment I chose peace over pride. The moment I realized that walking away wasn't losing, it was winning differently. Some people spend their whole lives chasing closure. But sometimes, closure is simply a closed door that you never open again. If you ever find yourself in a room full of laughter and the joke is on you, remember this. You don't owe anyone a performance. You don't have to prove your worth to people who can't see it. Just smile, stand up, and leave. Because dignity doesn't shout. It whispers. And those whispers echo far longer than any applause. She mocked me at my birthday party. But when I walked out, I didn't just leave her behind. I left behind a version of myself that needed to be understood, validated, or loved by someone who couldn't respect me. And in that silence, I found peace.